of Barbados is now ready to be told.
50 years of independence. Barbados celebrates its 50th anniversary on November 30th this year. November 1966, the island became independent from Great Britain, and the song is about celebrating that event and reflecting a bit on what we have accomplished in 50 years as masters of our own destiny. Um, I think we have been very successful in negotiating the pitfalls and the difficulties of new nations trying to become independent in this very dangerous and not an easy world we live in. Many of the islands and the nations of Central America and the Caribbean have not been as fortunate as Barbados. We have been able to produce a fairly strong economy and a very good standard of living for our people. And as masters of our own destiny, we have been able to overcome some of the problems that neighboring islands have suffered from. And so I'm very proud of Barbados, although I think there are many ways we can improve and do better. But I think that we've come, in 50 years, we've accomplished quite a lot.
50 years, the trident reign, masters of our destiny. We broke the chains, we can proclaim to make our mark in history.
Barbados was a British colony for over 350 years. Think about that. 1627 it was settled. The island became extremely important and strategically important for the British, for the English settling the New World. And the island of Barbados became almost like a mother colony to the other Caribbean islands and to the places like the Carolinas, where the first settlers, there were many Barbadians who left the island and went to the Carolinas to settle there. So Barbados played an important role in the English settlement of the New World. But it's important, and we can never underestimate that the people who now govern this island came to this island as slaves. So I think that's something that we can celebrate. We had to make a choice along the way. Many choices were made, and we were very fortunate to have some very good leaders in the name of Errol Walton Barrow, the first Prime Minister, who was referred to fondly as the Skipper and referred to in my song, and also Grantley Adams, who preceded him, who helped Barbadians get universal suffrage. So there were many steps along the way that, and the type of progress and freedoms that we enjoy today, we should not take for granted. And I also mentioned that, we have a lot of hurricanes to face. We have a lot of pitfalls, and we have been able to make it through. We chose love instead of hate in many cases, and chose cooperation instead of warfare and fighting. So I'm proud of the island and I'm proud of its people for making these very wise decisions. 50 years of trident reign. Well, you will notice on this drum there is a black trident on the yellow background. These are the colors of the Barbados flag in the back here on this drum. Aquamarine blue, golden yellow, and the black trident. The black trident is a reference to has a reference to antiquity, the classical Greek god of Poseidon, god of the ocean, and his staff, or trident, on his staff that he carries. And so Barbados, being surrounded by water, it's the land of the flying fish, and the trident was adopted as a symbol on the flag to represent continuity from the Barbados crest, where Poseidon was featured, and so it's incorporated into the Barbados flag. And the yellow, of course, is the yellow of the sunshine, and the blue of the ocean. So that's the story of Barbados in a sort of a nutshell there. We are an ex-colony of Great Britain, and we endured colonialism and slavery for hundreds of years. And that has left a society that has a lot of wounds and a lot of healing to go through. And the process of becoming a modern nation, we're always dealing with these with issues that we inherited from the legacy of slavery, and this has to do with the degradation of African culture and the ideas of being black, and this whole superiority of European or Eurocentric views. So we've always had to be trying to find ways to reinterpret and to reinvent ourselves and to become proud of who we are, as we are a people, a black nation with a white minority, and being able to reconcile the differences that the legacy of slavery and colonialism has given us. In the song I say black and white, we had our fight, we choose love instead of hatred.
Bim, wanna be bim, bim bim, wanna be bim. Black and white, we had a fight, we choose love instead of hatred. We overcame the slavery shame, a better home we created.
I made that point because I feel that we have produced a pretty stable society, which is created a high standard of living for the region. And to do that under the circumstances was not an easy task. We had to make decisions along the way, and I think we were well served with some very good leaders who made the right decisions and chose love instead of hatred, to put it poetically, or chose to cooperate and to work with others of different backgrounds or different political stripes, and to create a better nation for everyone. We had times of plenty with the sugar industry, and the sugar, of course, produced great wealth, but only for a small portion of the population historically. And now the sugar is no longer a factor in Barbados's economy, or it's a small factor, but nothing as much as tourism is now the big wealth producer, and what sustains the Barbados economy. But tourism also brings its own troubles and its own challenges and difficulties. And as an island, we're becoming, it's always been a very heavily populated island, and the density and overdevelopment is something that Barbadians have to deal with now. How are we going to maintain our environment? How are we going to protect the environment for the future? And I think that we can't take these things for granted. We are blessed with a very beautiful country. We're blessed with some of the most beautiful beaches in the Caribbean. And we have to find ways to protect that environmental gift that we've been given for our children.
The hurricanes we had to face, the dark days we confronted, the burdens that we had to bear. What we got, don't take for granted. Bim, bim, wanna be a bim. Be a bim, wanna be a bim. Bim, bim, wanna be a bim. Be a bim, wanna be a bim.
The term BIM is a nickname for Barbados. There are different theories about the origin. One is that it comes from a West African word that means people or people, and this was a word that many of the enslaved Africans used to refer to to others or to other people, and it's a name that became associated with the people of Barbados. There are other theories, but that seems to be the most credible theories put out so far. So the name BIM or Bimshire, as a sort of anglicization of the place, or connection with England being stressed there, is a nickname for the island, and something that has caught on, and it's something that we just refer to ourselves as from BIM or from Bimshire, and the song is titled BIM. I guess the other title for it is The Broken Trident, which is what you see back here on the drum. Six of the eight of the folk songs on the CD that is released, which is called BIM, Folk Songs of Barbados, and was recorded by my brother John and myself as a tribute to Barbados on its 50th anniversary. Six of the eight folk songs we included, to my knowledge, have never been recorded before. Songs from the 19th century and the early 20th century. And in particular, one is from the 1830s emancipation, 1830s, 1840s emancipation period, and was sung on the streets of Bridgetown in celebration of emancipation. And it's a wonderful anthem called Lick and Lock Up Dunwood, Hurrah for Gin Gin. Gin Gin was the nickname that people gave to Queen Victoria at the time, and this was, of course, a good example of bringing powerful people down to your level in song, in folk songs. She may be the Empress of the Empire or the Queen of Britain, but here in Barbados she is Gin Gin, and so that is something that is remarkable about the song. But it's also remarkable that this song was sung on the streets of Bridgetown, celebrating freedom, and probably one of the greatest accomplishments in human rights of mankind, you could say, in history. So I'm very proud of being able to have the opportunity to record that song and bring it to the public's attention. A song that's well over 170 years old. There's another song called Mr. Cunningham from around 1800 that's on CD. The other title for it is Auntie Nanny. Come out Nanny, open the door, Auntie. And it's a song about a gentleman who was having this affair with a lady, and the secret affair, and he's about to be caught. So there's a bit of drama going on here, and this folk song captures the excitement in the story. It also, there's quite a bit of double entendre in the song, in the lyrics. Mr. Cunningham being a reference to an unpopular governor of Barbados, English governor, of a few years before, at that time of the late 18th century. And so you get, the use of double entendre, the use of call and response in these early folk songs of Barbados, which are all part of the, and also, speaking to power and bringing the powerful down to your level. So you find these qualities in the folk songs of the Caribbean, and in particular of Barbados. The other songs deal with individuals or stories of incidences that happened in Barbados in the 1890s, in the early 1900s. One song in particular called Millie Gone to Brazil, which is actually a well-known folk song, but it's sung in an up-tempo calypso style, which kind of is a reference, shows the influence of Trinidad calypso in the 20th century on Barbadian music. But the song is actually a very sad song. It's a tragic song about the murder of a young woman, and when her accused murderer was asked about her, he said Millie had gone to Brazil. She had left him and gone to Brazil. So this song is called Millie Gone to Brazil, and it actually happened in 1916, December 1916. So this year is the 100th anniversary of the incident. And a couple of other songs are about different characters. One is about a very severe judge who is always giving these very harsh sentences, and called Bancroft, you're getting killed up. And, and then there's a song called Brother Neddy, which is a known Barbadian folk song. And this song is about a relationship between a black man and a white woman, who was the daughter of a plantation owner. And so this happened in the early 1900s. The relationship was uncovered, and of course, the family claimed that she was raped because it could obviously not be consensual, but it was. And if you read the backstory behind the incident, it's quite clear that this was a consensual type arrangement. And when it came to trial, he actually only got 4 years for his so-called rape, when people expected he would have gotten 10 or 20 years for this awful deed that he had committed. But he only got 4 years, which kind of reflects the fact that people knew that it was something consensual. So it's an interesting observation of the times in the song called Brother Neddy, and it's singing about this relationship between black and white in Barbados. So the songs sing about the people of the island. The songs are about sugarcane. The songs are about the struggle for freedom. Songs about flying fish, and songs about just the culture of the island. Another song from the early 20th century called Bacra Johnnies is a song about the poor whites in rural Barbados. And there's a certain district in the rural parishes of Barbados, very rugged area, where a community of poor whites who were descendants from the Scottish and Irish who were indentured servants in the 1600s. And they retained their sort of culture, and they were very much part of the early founding of the Barbadian culture. The Irish, Scottish indentured servants working alongside the enslaved Africans, and that whole relationship gave birth to the Barbados identity in terms of the Barbados dialect, which has a very Irish sort of twang to it, with a sort of a West African speech patterns and so on. So within the Barbadian dialect, you can see the history of this relationship between these indentured servants who settled the island and between the enslaved Africans who came along to work on the sugar plantations in great numbers, and the solidarity that they actually found in trying to cope with the oppression of the whole system. So the Bacra Johnnies are a reference to that community, and it's quite an interesting little folk song singing about their what they like to do, and kind of poking fun at them. So the collection of songs really talks about different aspects of Barbadian life, different aspects of Barbadian culture, and we tried in this project to create a musical sound that we thought would reflect what Barbadian living room music, people playing around the living room or just singing in an early period of time, what would it sound like, and that was our inspiration for doing the album for the special 50th anniversary of independence.